Your part 2. Now you have 1 minute to prepare. Great, time's up. Now you have 2 minutes for your part 2. You can begin now.
Growing up, something that surprisingly really helped me learn English was watching videos on YouTube. It all started when I was in elementary school and my dad would lend me his phone so that I could watch cartoons on it and entertain myself. And somehow I gravitated towards cartoons that were made in English. And so subconsciously I was able to work on my comprehension skills. So even when I was younger, I would listen to the English words being spoken, and then I would pause and mentally translate it into Vietnamese in my head. And so slowly enough, I was able to connect words with their meanings, and it was really kind of trial and error process. There were a lot of times where I had to rely on visual cues in order to understand a certain word or a phrase. But I think it really laid the groundwork for my vocabulary and comprehension skills. And so slowly I was able to directly think in English. I was able to stop relying on subtitles. And so watching these videos have really shaped how I use English, how I use the language. I think I've been able to converse more naturally and talk about topics that I genuinely like and are more realistic than I feel I would be able to if I were to only study purely through textbooks. And so I think overall I'm very much grateful for the early exposure that I got to such a wide source of English and vocabulary and things like that. I think YouTube is something that is not only accessible but also a very entertaining form of learning, and so it is something that has made my journey with English a lot more fun.
Now let's move on to part 3. What difficulties do people face when learning a language?
I think people face, a lot of difficulties. The most common of which I think are people's fear of making mistakes. I think a lot of times students, especially young students, get very easily embarrassed if they were to make a mistake or if they were to practice language that is not perfect in front of another person. So I think if people were able to kind of get over their fear of looking a bit embarrassing or get over the fear of not being immediately the best at something or good at something, it would really help them in their language acquisition journey.
Do you think language learning is important? Why or why not?
I think language learning is very obviously important, especially, not just English, but for also, other languages that are also commonly spoken. I think it's not only able to kind of open this whole gateway into sources of contents that you would never been able to access otherwise, things like textbooks, things like documentaries, things like that, but it's also able to give you a point of view or a culture that you never would have been able to kind of have such an intimate and deep experience with otherwise. So being able to learn a language and kind of develop more empathy, for example, is something that I think is essential and everyone should have in their lives.